That's really cool.
We good?
Yeah.
Okay, let's call the meeting to order. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Cox?
Here.
Mr. D'Amico?
Here.
Ms. DeAndre?
Here.
Mr. Kella?
Here.
Mr. Moore? Mr. Shatina?
Here.
Mr. Walden?
Here.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, this is the duly advertised Plan Commission meeting for the city of Joliet for the month of March. We've got only one item under consideration, but we do have two items. We also have, as you requested, we've got a presentation on the city center plan that we're going to do, the downtown plan, and we've got Pam Owens from City Center Partnership. And I think what we'll do is stick to the agenda as printed and go with this one case that we have on South Briggs Street, and then have Pam here. Pam does have a conflict, so she's got to be out of here at 4:30 or 4:45, and to get her to her 5 o'clock meeting, so we'll get right into this. The first case up is an annexation. It's A214, and it's the annexation of 1913 South Briggs Street, a classification to I-1, which is a light industrial zoning, and then the approval of an annexation agreement. The applicant in this matter is Briggs Street Kotara LLC. They are the owners of the property. The requested action is the approval of an annexation, its classification to an I-1 light industrial zoning, and then the approval of an annexation agreement. The purpose is to allow the continuation and the expansion of an industrial warehouse within the city of Joliet. It currently has an I-1 light limited industrial unincorporated Will County zoning. Its location is on South Briggs. There's a correction here. It's on South Briggs. And just by way of familiarity, it's right across the street from the Commonwealth Edison headquarters. Size of the property in total is 6 acres. It currently is a warehouse and a distribution facility. Surrounding land use and zoning to the north is I-1 in the city. To the south is industrial in unincorporated Will County. To the east is industrial I-1. To the west is industrial with unincorporated Will County, city of Joliet. Under site history, we could not find no previous cases. Special information. The petitioners are requesting the approval of an annexation, the zoning classification, and the annexation agreement to allow the continuation of existing warehouse and distribution facility, which includes a future building expansion within the city of Joliet. Burkott Superfoods has purchased the property in order to locate one of their warehouse distribution facilities that also include office and truck mechanic service space. The purchase of the building will allow Burkott's to combine some of their other locations here in one location, and it will be part of a transfer of approximately 35 jobs with it. Products like detergents, frozen foods, dairy, and paper products will be stored at this location before being delivered to the 15 regional stores. Before opening the facility, Burkott's plans on remodeling the existing building and constructing a 20,000 square foot addition to the rear.
Beautiful.
A request to utilize metal panel construction for the addition's materials has been requested in order to match the existing building, the existing building material. Additionally, the rear truck parking area is currently unpaved, and the petitioner has requested a 3-year time period to pave it. The planning staff is recommending approval of those requests. Minor landscaping along Briggs Street frontage may be requested if space allows. The nearest water main is currently over 300 foot away, but will be extended within 2 to 3 years as part of a city project. A waiver to remain on the current well system will be allowed by the city's Public Works Division. A 20-foot wide public utility and drainage easement has been negotiated along Briggs Street frontage of the property for both sewer and water extensions. A gravity sewer main is being requested by the Utilities Division for a future project. The subject site would be allowed to stay on their septic system until the future expansion project has been completed. The connection fee for sewer will be waived as a concession to allow the public utility and drainage easement on this property. A water connection fee and a development impact fee for future construction will be required. A detachment fee for the East Joliet Fire Protection District in the amount of $15,120.47 has been paid. A library detachment fee is not required. The Community Design Review Board met on March the 6th, and that concludes the staff report.
May the petitioner step up, please. Give your name and address.
Good afternoon. I'm Josh Nesser with Lavelle Law on behalf of Briggs Street Katara LLC. Our firm's address is what you would like?
That'd be fine, yes.
501 West Colfax Street in Palatine, Illinois,
Okay.
60067.
Anything to add to the
No,
report?
I think he covered it, and we appreciate all the cooperation we've gotten so far.
All right, thank you. Any questions from the,
I use Burcott's, as I travel a lot in the county. It's a great store, and it's great to see them come to the city of Joliet. I'm really happy to see that. I go to the one in Manhattan a lot, so they do a nice
of course,
job.
this is not going to be a store, it's only be warehouse.
It's
No, I
where
know,
we
but-
did have a discussion with them about the possibility of taking over the closed Dominic store. And what they told us is what one of my grocery insiders told me is that the current amount of rent that Dominic's is charging for that vacant space is on the high side.
Yeah.
And so the theory is that it's going to sit for a while till the price comes down to where somebody, not necessarily a grocery store, but somebody goes in that space.
It's nice to have them in here rather than out on Route 53 where there's too many trucks now, and
Yes.
this is great. This
Yes.
is a good addition for us.
And they do, it's a lot of synergy between there and Central Grocers because they are a member of Central Grocers, so they do pick up a lot of product over at the Central Grocers warehouse, which is somewhat right around the corner.
Good.
And then the other thing that I wanted to add is that there was mention in here about a project, a sewer main extension project, and what that is that the county's committed to do an expansion at the sheriff's facility on Laraway Road at Route 52, and one of the things to allow them to expand that facility, they need water and sewer. And so what Public Works is in the process of doing is it's a big county project. They're going to actually extend the water and sewer mains from their current locations out to that facility to allow them to do then major expansion of that facility out there. So the sheriff is going to have a major expansion going on as soon as we get the utilities run out there.
Beautiful. Good.
I have a question. Once those are extended, will they be required then to connect?
As part of this, yes, they're going to be required to connect.
Would sprinklers be needed in a building, or are they an addition to size of 20,000 square feet?
The addition to the building's going to be, it's going to be a freezer cooler building, so normally we don't require that in freezer cooler buildings. Dave uses some, I know what the code requires some kind of a Freon system or some non-water system
Okay.
for fire protection, but in in building inspections, had a lot of experience with that, so
Okay.
we don't expect so.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Anybody from the audience? Okay, then, the motion is that we need for A-2-14, please.
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll.
Mr. D'Amico?
Yes.
Ms. DeAndre?
Aye.
Mr. Kella?
Aye.
Mr. Shatina?
Aye.
Mr. Walden?
Aye.
Mr. Cox?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, thank
Thank
you.
you very much.
All right, next up would be then explanation of the city center plan and what we've done to date. And normally what I was going to have Kendall Jackson here to tell you all about it, but Kendall's at a train station meeting up in Chicago, so Pam's agreed to come in and fill you in, and she's going to tell you how we all decided to know we needed, there's a need to do the plan for the downtown area. If you remember, our last plan was in 1990. Really hasn't been updated. We did start in on the updating process. Joe, I think you were on the council at the time, and we did it with that firm out of Chicago, and then we got busy with the transportation center, and really they never finished it up and ended up running out of money, so we never, that plan never went forward, so we're going to start from scratch and do another one again. This time, I think the focus is going to be more on opening up South Chicago Street through the entire downtown, and Pam will tell you about who we chose, the process we went through to get there, and then what the scope of services will be in that contract with Camaros.
Good.
All right, thank you, and I'm glad to be here to talk about the downtown plan. This has been a long process to get to this point, so I'm very excited that we have our preferred provider has been approved by council, and they're definitely the best guys for the job, and I'm very thrilled that they'll be working with us here in downtown Joliet. I want to give you a little bit of background about how we got to this point. I've been here in Joliet now almost a year. One of the reasons I was hired was because of my experience in working with the downtown plan. It was kind of interesting because about a year ago right now I was going around to a lot of conferences about downtowns talking about how important the planning document was for downtown revitalization efforts, because I worked for the city of Moline, and our downtown plan was our guidebook on how we moved forward with practically every project. You know, it wasn't just our downtown organization utilizing it, but our design committees, whether that be the Historic Preservation Commission or the city's Plan Commission or City Council even, and even street projects were, you know, referring back to that downtown plan so that everyone had an idea of being on the same page. So I was really excited to be able to come in and start at the process of planning for the downtown plan. So I just wanted to tell you a little bit about how we came up with that. This has definitely been a public-private partnership from the beginning. A portion of the downtown planning process is being paid for by City Center Partnership, which is my organization, the downtown organization, and a portion of the plan is being paid for out of the TIF district, which are funds that are managed by the City of Joliet but must remain within the boundaries of the TIF district. So it's a great utilization of funding to move downtown forward. So in the fact that this was a public-private partnership from the word go, we had a planning committee which was comprised of members of the City Center Partnership Economic Development Committee, the City Center Partnership Board of Directors, and staff from the city. Who went and talked about, we sat and talked together about what did we need to have included in this downtown plan. And I'm going to just read to you a little bit about the components that we had in the RFP for the downtown plan before I talk about how we moved forward with getting a consulting team to respond to this. Number one component was, as Jim said, opening up the Chicago Street corridor. I believe that there was a grant that for planning of the opening of this corridor that Kendall had applied for through CMAP. And so that planning grant that the city has already received will become a part of this component of this RFP in working with the consulting team on that portion of this RFP. But the goal was to create a pedestrian and bike connections to the downtown district from the multimodal station, implement an updated downtown streetscape design, coordinate appropriate roadway cross-sections designed to draw visitors into the downtown district. There's a real sense of disconnect downtown, as I'm sure all of you know. We have the county courthouse there, we have the train station, and there's nothing that makes people want to explore further than their destination, whether they're going to the courthouse or they're going to the train station. There's nothing that makes them want to move any further into the district. And so we're hoping that we can create appropriate wayfinding systems and just through streetscape design, something that will lure people into the rest of the downtown district. The second component of the downtown RFP, downtown plan RFP, is the downtown economic development plan. This is really important, where there have been other plans put in place in the city of Joliet for downtown. They've basically been land use plans. They've been sort of I guess probably the best way to put it would be, say, a 10,000-foot view of downtown, where this is an economic development plan that is a real feet on the streets kind of view in addressing the current building stock, the vacancies that we have. We're all aware that we have some really great assets downtown with the casino, with the Rialto Theater, the museum, the Slammers, you know, just to name a few. All of those are great assets, and many of those came out of previous downtown plans. But what we're looking at with this one is how do we connect those dots? How do we fill the vacancies that exist in between those great entities that are currently downtown? And how do we attract businesses to fill those vacancies? And how do we get visitors and the citizens of our own community to support downtown and to come downtown? So one of the portions of the downtown economic development plan will be to conduct a market feasibility study highlighting demand, market parameters, and constraints, analyze available development incentives, and recommend the establishment of incentives to attract future development. We do have a facade and small business incentive program through CCP that we just implemented since I've been here. that has already been utilized by several new businesses that have come in the past year. So I think that's a really great way. The TIF is there for large projects and for development agreements, but what we don't have right now is a real toolbox of incentives to attract those small independent businesses that are going to fill the vacant storefronts in our downtown. To identify catalytic redevelopment opportunities. Are there parcels of property that can be assembled to attract a larger development? I know that it's been batted around for a number of years that we could use another hotel downtown. I agree. We have great events going on at the Rialto or at other venues downtown, and oftentimes the people who are going to those places are staying out by the interstate and not staying downtown. So they're coming in, they're going out, and they're not staying. We need to keep them downtown for as long as possible. And then to create a scope of work to prepare for forming an agreement with the master broker. At the end of the day, we'd like to be able to say, here are the properties that are available. We have property owners that want to lease or want to sell, and we want to hire someone to work with us to go out and actually fill those vacancies. And then the third portion of the RFP was a downtown inventory and analysis. Having been in the downtown development game for a decade or so, I know that there are ways that you can talk to developers and to chains about coming into downtown, and they want a sheet of paper that says, how many downtown daytime employees do you have? How many residents? What are the demographics? What are the traffic counts? Some of that information we have, some of it we don't have. But what we want to do is to be able to put it all together so that if we do have someone who's interested in coming to downtown Joliet, that we aren't scrambling to get the information together, but that we have it right there available for them, both if they call us or on our website, so that it makes downtown Joliet an easy place for someone who's looking to expand or to open a new business to choose us. We're in a very competitive market, and we need to make sure that we're on top of the game with that. And to identify primary land uses. What properties do we need to save? What ones are great contributors to our downtown district, and which ones maybe need to be let go of at this point? To create a comprehensive downtown inventory of existing buildings and uses. We know where the buildings are. We know we have a pretty good downtown business inventory. What we don't have is a building by building inventory that says, in this building, there are this many businesses. Here's the point of contact for each of those businesses. Here's how many employees they have, and things like that. To assess the economic conditions of downtown. To also assess the environment of downtown, the open spaces and the conditions of the public spaces. And what we had included and then removed from this RFP was a parking inventory and needs assessment, which the city already began getting that process underway. As I said, we had a cooperative effort in writing the RFP with both CCP staff and city staff. And we formed a selection committee that once the RFP was published and the due date came by, we had 13 fantastic responses to the RFP. It was published both on City Center Partnership website and the City of Joliet's website. The responses were absolutely tremendous. I was really, as the economic development geek that I am, I was like really thrilled to have a foot-tall stack of responses to our RFP to read over the holidays. We did. The city did a great job of coming up with a scoring sheet for all of us, and we read each one of the responses to the RFP without knowing what price tag was on these bids. And I think that was a really interesting way to do it, because I know that a couple of these really rose to the top of my selection, and my biggest fear was that their price point was going to be way out of our budget. A couple of interesting points about the responses we received to the RFP is that they were not just from the Joliet or Chicago area, but they went out as far as Boston and Colorado in responding to our RFP. Once we had all of us completed our scoring sheets, we got together and we opened up the bid proposals. And interestingly enough, it wasn't necessarily the most expensive bid that had given us the best proposals. So we were pretty pleased to see that some of our top scoring consulting teams were actually within reach of our budget as well. So we narrowed down the 13 teams to 6 candidates that were on our short list. And we conducted a public forum, which I think was a really unique way for us to do this process, and definitely unique to Joliet. I don't think it had been done before, where we asked the 6 shortlist consulting teams to come and give public presentations. And we had over 60 folks attend. We invited, we did send out a press release, and we invited all of our list of downtown stakeholders to attend that day. And we held the public presentations at the Joliet Historical Museum in their auditorium, and asked each team to come and give about a 20-minute presentation. And we passed out comment sheets to those who were in attendance. We did not allow people to give verbal comments that day because we wanted to keep things moving along nicely, and we didn't want anyone getting on their soapbox that day because that wasn't our intention. But each team gave a presentation, and we passed out the comment sheets to the audience, and then we ushered each of the consulting teams into a quick 15-minute interview with the selection committee, so that we got a chance to see their presentation. We probably had questions in mind that we wanted to ask each team prior to their presentation, but invariably those presentations brought out other further questions. And so it gave the committee a chance to really respond to the information that each of those consulting teams had brought to the table that day. And so we rescored the 6 teams, and then we got together again and went over all of the public comment sheets, which once again the city did a fantastic job of compiling all of those comments and getting them back to the selection committee. And we met again, and it was just across the board unanimous among the selection committee that Camiros really responded just absolutely dead on to everything we had asked them to respond to in the RFP. And that was approved by council on Tuesday night. Camiros came in and gave a brief presentation, and we talked about the RFP process, and it was unanimously approved at City Council on Tuesday evening. And about a week from now, Camiros will be back in Joliet, and we'll be conducting the first of our public forums. They'll hit the ground running, but the first thing they want to do is to invite everyone to get a chance to know who they are and to ask any questions up front before they begin the process of the downtown plan. So if anyone has any
When will that
questions.
occur?
We don't have a date set. It will probably be the first or second week of April.
Okay.
And where are they from?
They are located in, is it Oak Park, Jim?
I think so, yeah.
Oh, so not too far away.
Not too far, no. And interestingly enough, I know the questions come up, and I'll just answer it before it comes up again. They have not been involved in any of the planning process in the past in Joliet, nor have they been involved in any of the current projects. I don't know that they may have been in the past, I don't know, but any of the projects that are currently being undertaken downtown. So it is really a fresh set of eyes taking a look at Joliet.
And Joe, I don't know that Les Pollock is the principal of the firm. I don't know if you've seen him testify in court cases at all, but he's been in the land use game forever and ever and ever.
I know who he is, yeah.
Yeah.
And Gruen is partnering with them to conduct the economic development portion of the downtown plan.
Correct.
Any other questions?
Any other questions?
The other thing to note is that they will work in earnest this year. They expect to have the plan done before the end of the year, and then we'll start in on the implementation process. And it was interesting that the presentation that they made to the city council on Tuesday night, the council members were talking about who is going to be in charge of the implementation, and they wanted like names and faces to go along with the implementation, and it's going to be driven by the city's budget on what gets done, and the funds available to incent projects and the TIF that the city controls. So there's a lot of
That was what John Girl was talking about
correct,
yesterday.
correct. But the real answer to that question is it's going to have to be the city and our ability to bring projects in and to incent them where they need to be incented and help them along as best we can. The one nice thing that I have to say about the city that unlike many of our competing cities, that we don't really have zoning laws that prohibit a lot of the development that some other towns do. And so a lot of times, when you'll see these there'll be massive changes to the rules and regulations in a particular city to allow certain kinds of development to happen, and we don't have to go through that process. You know, some of you know that our B2 downtown business zoning is pretty liberal, allows just about anything to
Flexibility is good.
quite a bit, very good. So I'm not seeing any impediments to it outside of trying to make Joliet more of a destination, the downtown more of a destination. And we think with the junior college project, with the University of St. Francis project, with the train station and the bus station relocations and constructions going on, that it's just a matter of time. I know Pam's talked about, she told the city council she's been working with 6 new businesses. I know that we've got, you know, with the lockdown, bar and grill folks are going to take the old Crabigales. I've been working with them. I've got a friend of mine who's an optometrist is going to open up a facility downtown. So there's a lot of activity even in advance of the plan.
Good, good.
Yeah. One other thing I'd like to add too is that, you know, funds are always limited, whether that be through, you know, city center partnerships funds or the city of Joliet's funds. I think one of the great things that will come out of this plan is that it will give us a toolbox of economic development strategies that aren't necessarily tied to dollars. A lot of this is collecting just some of the data and formulating a plan of attack that really doesn't have dollar figures attached to it. Some of this is really just gathering information that we need to be able to go out on our own and attract those businesses to come to downtown.
And they have to see a commitment. If there's a real commitment between the partnership and the rest, it makes a big difference. And
Absolutely.
confidence in coming becomes stronger.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Pam.
Thanks, Pam. We have nothing else on the agenda, so next up would be the approval of the minutes from last month's meeting. Is there a motion to approve?
Could you add into that Earl's cell phone if we could get someone to shut it off? I move we approve.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
And the motion to adjourn signify by aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. And then, Earl, I feel bad I didn't see your presentation at the History Museum, but I did read about it, and I remember all of those groups, all of those people that you had over at D'Amico's 214 back in the
It
day.
was a lot of fun, and I spent a long time cleaning it up before the show.
Did you? Took out all the bad words, huh?
Most of the bad stuff is out of it, yeah.
Yeah,
John and I went down, we helped them clean it up.
good, very good. I always use Earl's facility down there. People always will tell me that nobody wants to come downtown, that it's not safe downtown, and I always say, no, that's not the case. I said, I remember Fraser's Disco, and I said, you couldn't get a parking space within 5 blocks of that place. I said, you couldn't even get in the front door, and I said, downtown back then was in much worse shape than it is now, and I said, you couldn't keep the people away. And I said, so no, if you give people what they want, what they're looking for, they're going to beat a path to your door. And I always used Fraser's Disco as
Fraser's dead.
the example on that's true. That if we put something down here that people want to attend, or want to sample, or want to shop at, they're gonna come.
Oh, look at that, Mojo's. Well, they have something there, they're lined up
They
around
do.
the block.
They do.
Oh, the phone, no, that's a...
They do.
You had to fight to get your place in front of the mirror.
Yeah. Exactly. Right.
Dance.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.